Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Real Madrid's victory over Alaves. We'll discuss Chelsea getting their comfortable victory over West Ham. They also took on Baron today in the third round of the AFL Cup where they won 5-0, but mostly talk about the West Ham game. We'll discuss Liverpool's victory over Bournemouth. We'll discuss Tottenham's win over Brentford. And then make sure you stick around for the end of the show where I'll be giving you my reaction to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. Before start off though, I would like to say real quick, that's a sneak peek of the first segment. If you've got a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insight. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that as well. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $sign and just click the $sign at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking, hit that super chat button, and let's keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We move on though to discuss Real Madrid. They were able to get a very close call victory over Alaves. A very, not a tight affair necessary, but a game in which completely flipped within a matter of, seconds. A panic finish, a very tense finish for them, as they started off the game very comfortably, playing with real personality, playing with real spirit, getting up 3-0 with goals from Vasquez that came immediately after the kickoff. Essentially, within the first minute, you had Kylian Mbappe doubling the score sheet in the 48th minute, and then Rodrigo getting the third very quickly after as the second half started. Then you saw Real Madrid. They looked composed, were steady, and then suddenly you saw a strings of attack from Alaves. 2 goals within a minute in the 85th minute and 86th minute that completely, changed the deal for Deportivo Alaves and found themselves, in a battle to get a point within the remaining moments of the game. It was really not great, but it was really interesting to see how this game really came down to the wire after Real Madrid, were able to get it down. It's a late scare, and it was a deep scare because, this is a Real Madrid team that already found themselves 4 points below Barcelona, and they also have the Madrid derby coming up this weekend as they take on Atletico Madrid. This Sunday at the Metropolitano. So, it's a huge game for them. Obviously, it's important for them not to drop any more unnecessary points. They've already dropped points in 2 games so far. We know that Barcelona are perfect up to this point. So yeah, the Real Madrid, they opened, as I said earlier, they opened it a little bit in after kickoff. Vinicius Jr. Was able to control a good ball played in by Valverde, and he was able to set up Lucas Vasquez, who was actually playing as a fullback. Set up Lucas Vasquez, who was making a late run and he was able to fire in close range, easy 1-0 finish. And then it was the Real Madrid, they kept going after that. They were really good. Vinicius Mbappe was able to Mbappe was able to score as well for Real Madrid in the 40th minute. So much has been talked about so far with, oh, by the way, speaking of Real Madrid, Bellingham is back playing some really, really good football. He made that return, I believe, against Espanyol, and I thought he played really, really well in this game. Mbappe actually, this is his fifth straight game that he scored in, and Bellingham was also very, very good as well. And Mbappe actually had a goal earlier in the game in the 22nd minute, but it ended up being ruled out. He was offsides there. But yeah, Madrid, they kept dominating, and then they got that second goal through Mbappe in the 40th minute. It was a good combination play between Mbappe and Bellingham before Mbappe does what he does best, being able to cut inside and have a really, really, tidy finish. And it looked like it was going to be very, very comfortable, especially when the third goal came from Rodrigo. But then some bad moments of defending later on from Real Madrid, and then Benavides and Garcia, they were able to take advantage of that. And then you got and then you had that Frankie finish to the game with Alaves chasing that point. Real Madrid suddenly looking very, very comfortable, easy 3-0 game, having a cigar in their hands, just easing their way past this. Then Alaves, just like that, made it a scare. But at the end of the day, Real Madrid, they were able to hold on. Lucas Vazquez, who actually captained the game, said, "It's a shame that with the performance that we were putting throughout the match, it had to finish the way that it did. We were happy with the win because we played a great game until the 88th minute when 2 lapses in concentration led to 2 goals, and we had to suffer a bit more than we should have. We didn't deserve this ending with the game we had played, but let's look on the bright side. We did a lot of things right." And honestly, yes, the most important thing is that, they didn't concede that third and they didn't drop points. But again, though, but this is the sort of performance, some of the things that we've been talking about, Real Madrid not looking cohesive in that attacking third, not looking as good as they did last season earlier on. Those are some issues that Real Madrid, maybe there should have been a little bit sense of urgency, a little bit, not urgency, but a little bit something to worry about. But this game, it's really lack of concentration, and this is something that can easily be sorted. So honestly, I think the biggest story here is that they got the 3 points, and they got a vital 3 points, as I said. Already being, entering this contest, they now played a game extra than Barcelona, so they find themselves only 1 point behind Barcelona, but they've played a game extra. They came into this game with the same amount of games played as Barcelona, already 4 points behind them. On top of that, they got the Madrid derby coming up this weekend. You don't want to bridge the gap between you and Barcelona and make it more difficult for you as the season goes, because this Barcelona team, they're not showing signs of slowing down. At least in La Liga, 6 wins of 6. This is a Barcelona team that put 5 past unbeaten Villarreal up to this point. They were able to comfortably get past a Girona team that made the top 4 last season. They put 7 past Valladolid. This is a Barcelona team that has looked really, really good this season. So, of course, Real Madrid, what they're, they don't want to, they want to bridge that gap. Also, another good thing about Real Madrid up to this point, with this result, is Mbappe getting on the score sheet again. He had that little bit of a start of the season in La Liga, first few games, not getting on the score sheet, and the pressure was mounting a little bit, which is a little unfair because he is joining a new club, and it's difficult to adapt. And he did score in his first appearance in the Super Cup, but now now in the last 5 games he's gotten a goal. He's slowly getting comfortable. He's slowly finding right areas. And some things early on in the season he was rushing it a bit. He was trying to do a little bit too much. Now he's letting the game come to him, and he's finding his opportunities to be deadly in situations that he is at his best at. He's not trying to do too much that is not needed. And yeah, it's been a good run now for Mbappe. They're getting players like Jude Bellingham back as well, who's an important part of that midfield, because they want this team playing together as much as possible to build that cohesion. You want Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham to be playing continuously to get a feel for each other. These are all players that are generally favor their right foot, and they all operate primarily off the left hand side without especially and Bellingham, yeah, he is a midfielder, but when he joins into attack, he does operate in more of the left side of the midfield when he's trying to attack, because he does want to cut in on his right foot. So you find a lot of players that do want to pick up similar sort of positions. So the more they can play together, the more they can get a feel of each other, that they can find their role, find their spot that they that on the pitch that they can have space to maneuver and do what they can. So I think continuity in these players continuing to play together is the most important thing. You want to build something, you want to build, you want to get a sense of momentum going forward. And again, you don't want to drop points that's not needed, unnecessary points. You don't want that to happen. Going forward, now this is a Real Madrid team as well. They play the Madrid derby this weekend. This is an Atletico Madrid team that hasn't had the best start to the season so far. 3 wins, 3 draws, but also an Atletico Madrid team that can provide some issues for them. We know the quality that they have. Julian Alvarez, he hasn't been able to really kick on his Atletico. He hasn't really been able to, he's been below expectations. He has not been great so far to start off his time at Atletico Madrid. 6 games, 1 goal and La Liga. But we know the quality he has, and we know on any given match day, there's a moment of magic in him. He has really, really good ability. He's quality. So, and then you have Griezmann as well. We know what he's capable of. Sorlas, who's came in, Gallagher, who's came in and played some really good football as well. They're gonna make it tight. They're gonna play. They played a back 5 against Valisano this past Sunday. I could see them doing something similar against Real Madrid. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll do a full preview later on. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will react to Chelsea getting their comfortable victory over West Ham.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on their fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we discussed Real Madrid's victory over Deportivo Alaves. We move on to react to Chelsea. They were able to get a comfortable victory over West Ham on this past Saturday. 3-0 victory. 3-0 victory. They were very comfortable as well. They played some good football. They took advantage of a West Ham team that played a pretty poor game, if we're being completely honest. They were very, very poor, but Chelsea were able to get a 3-0 victory, and they did that in dominating fashion. Nicholas Jackson was able to get a brace as well. He's enjoyed a very good start to the season as well, and it's been remarkable. And then they had that result today, or technically now yesterday, because we're past midnight, where they got the 5-0 win over Borough. You had 3 goals from Chelsea, from Nkunku, one in the 8th minute, one in the 15th, and the other in the 75th. You also had a goal in the 28th minute from Paul Foreman, and then an own goal. And then you had Neto, who was able also to get on the score sheet for for Chelsea in the 48th minute, who's trying to break into that Chelsea first 11 after making that big move from Wolverhampton. I believe this is actually his first goal since he's been it is his first goal since he's been at Chelsea. So a good moment for him. But specifically, we go back to the game against West Ham, in which, Chelsea played a good game, but they were allowed to play a good game because of how poor West Ham were. West Ham were really, really bad. I do have to say, Chelsea, they absolutely destroyed West Ham, and West Ham defensively looked very, very shocking, very, very opened. They didn't. It was just really, really bad. But we'll get to that. It was some poor defending, very poor defending, especially on that opening goal. I do have to say, that was horrible defending, and Nicholas Jackson was able to get in on that and had a calm little finish in between the legs of Areola. But going back though to what I was saying, so in that fourth minute, Jackson, he capitalized on poor defending, and he was able to find the net in the fourth minute, and he was able to get inside the box, down the wing, essentially unchallenged, and then he beat Alfonso Areola going in between his legs. 14 minutes later, Nicholas Jackson was able to get a second, when West Ham defender, he was left in a lot of space. West Ham defenders weren't tight enough, and he received the pass. A good ball played in by Moise Caicedo, who's slowly improving now at Chelsea, him and Enzo, to double Chelsea's lead. And then shortly after the second half, Cole Palmer, on the break, Nicholas Jackson was able to feed Cole Palmer, and Cole Palmer fired home a good shot from the edge of the penalty area. 3-0 for Chelsea, and it was just bam, just like that, 3-0, game over. And this is a Chelsea team now. They're getting a little bit of set of consistent results. We know they were able to win last week against Bournemouth 1-0. They also had that really good win over Wolverhampton, where they played an excellent second half as they got past the Wolves 6-2. And then actually, after that initial win that Chelsea had against Bournemouth, they find themselves second place in the Premier League, before Liverpool, Villa, and Arsenal all played their following games, and then they all down Chelsea. But right now, through 5 games, Chelsea find themselves 5th in the league, and they've played some really good football at times. They've shown improvement from last season, in my opinion. In 5 games, taking away that opening day loss to City, 4 games, 3 wins, 1 draw, 4 games. Chelsea haven't had much of those kind of runs in the past few seasons ever. Chelsea at the end of last season, we saw a little bit of some positivity from Chelsea. I think 1 loss in 14 games, albeit that 1 loss was to Arsenal, and it was a dumping 5-0 loss. But you don't get much of these strings of results. And so far, Enzo Maresca's time, he has this team playing they have a pattern of play in which you see some consistency in how they're trying to go about it, and they move the ball a lot quicker than Chelsea teams in the past. They have a little bit of more intent and a little bit more forward going. It's there's with Chelsea teams in the past, especially going up against some of the teams that play a lower block, it's been difficult for Chelsea. They don't really move the ball quick enough. But when you give them the space that Wolves gave them, that West Ham gave them, they will completely trounced Chelsea. And they did it again today. They will completely trounce the other team, and they did it again today. It was really, really good, or on Saturday. Really, really good performance, taking away the space. Now I do want to see Chelsea. I do have to be honest, I couldn't catch the EFL Cup game today. I had something going on, but I do want to see them play against a team, and I don't know if Barrow did this today. This is something I'm gonna go over the tape, before I sleep tonight. After this, I'm gonna rewatch that, or I'm gonna watch that Barrow game. I don't know if they, played 11 men in the box and they parked the bus, because I do want to see us playing against those teams. But obviously going up against Barrow is not going to be the biggest of tells, because Barrow is a team, or Barrow, I don't know if I'm saying it right. This is a team that plays in Football League 2. So obviously I want to see them against a Premier League team, a Premier League caliber team that are, that put men behind the ball and that are defending for their lives. I want to see if this Chelsea team, if they still, have that intent to them to move the ball quicker, to if they're able to move players off their move defenders off their spots and their zones, and being able to take advantage by moving players around. Or do we see some of the Chelsea teams in the past where it just looks so looks so rough, looks so slow, looks from side to side? They don't really look like they have any that they're able to get the goal. They don't look like they're about to get a goal. Do we see that Chelsea team, or do we see a Chelsea team that, because look, what I'm talking about, that City second half against Arsenal, City never looked like they were scoring a goal. Chelsea, sometimes they look like that going up against teams that play men behind the ball. They don't move the ball as quicker as they do. They don't get wingers that overlap as well, that are trying to, move the center halves and create space by dragging players out of position. You don't really see that with Chelsea against teams that are playing a little bit. So I want to see that. I want to see them get tested more, because so far in the games that we've looked really good in up to this point, Chelsea, that Wolverhampton game and this West Ham game, there's been a lot of space for these Chelsea players to take advantage of. And they have taken advantage of that space and taken advantage. Nicholas Jackson as well, he's had so far, I believe he scored 3 goals so far in this Premier League. 4 goals so far, actually. He scored 4 goals so far. Really good output for him. Last season he had 14 goals, which honestly is not the best, but wasn't horrible. This season, 4 goals. Not a bad start for him. But the thing with him as well is he does have a lot of pace. So when you do give him the space, to run in behind, once in a while he will get into the back of the net, and now he's on a high. He has some confidence, so the ball's been hitting the back of the net more often than not. But my problem with him as well is, when teams bunker down as well, is he the sort of striker that can make something out of nothing, that can play in those tight spaces, that can get a goal out of nowhere to save Chelsea. I don't see that. Now if you give him space and you play the ball in behind, or you need him to drop in midfield and be a connector, he has those attributes really, really well. He's not clinical enough in the final third. I'm not going to let this 5-game start, skew my opinion of him. There's a lot of opportunities that he misses, and there's no arguing that. But we're seeing progression, and he is a young player, and the more and more he gets to play, I'll look to see the improvement for him. But yes, Chelsea, they've been very, very good so far this season. And look, so far I do think this team does look like a top 4 team. Now, are we better than City, Arsenal, and Liverpool? No, we're not better than City, Arsenal, Liverpool. Chelsea are not better teams than them. But can they compete with an Aston Villa team that's playing, that's already playing European football in the Champions League? Can they take advantage of that and jump Aston Villa? Yes, very so. Can they jump a team like Newcastle, who, yes, have started decently, had that rough loss this past weekend, started off decently though in 5 games. Can they finish ahead of them? Yes, because Newcastle haven't been playing the best football up to this point. So good signs now for Chelsea coming forward, I do have to say. Show break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to Liverpool's victory over Bournemouth.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we discussed Chelsea and their win that they got over West Ham. We move on to react to Liverpool. They were able to get a victory over Bournemouth this past weekend. Really good performance from Liverpool. Well, no, not the greatest performance. They could have had more, and in the second half, Keller did have to make a save here and there, and it wasn't exactly smooth sailing for Liverpool. But if you look at so far the response that they had to that loss against Nottingham Forest, in which I worried about this Liverpool team a little bit, being managed by Arne Slot, now a little bit new with with Klopp, the legend, leaving. How will they respond to that defeat that they suffered against Nottingham Forest? But this team has shown some really good mental resilience, and they responded amazingly, going away into Italy, getting that win over AC Milan, comfortable 3-1 victory. And then on top of that, in this game, Liverpool-Bournemouth game, I do have to say, this game, I've watched some, I wasn't alive to see, the prime of this fighter, but it reminded me of a classic Mike Tyson fight in terms of quick knockout. It was a quick knockout blow, and it came within a 15-minute stretch for Liverpool. Not even a 15-minute stretch, a 10-minute stretch for Liverpool. Let's say 15-minute stretch. From the 25th minute to the 40th minute, that was the quick jab, knocked them out. And that's what Liverpool did in those 15 minutes. 2 goals coming from Nunez within, minutes of each other, within a minute of each other. And then Darwin Nunez getting the third in the 37th minute. 3-0 for Liverpool. Comfortable victory in terms of the fact that they were able to, get the knockout blow. And then, they never really had to get out of fifth gear from there. Luis Diaz, he's been on fire. Unbelievable player. Ever since he's came into Liverpool, he did have a little bit of struggles since the injury, but now continuing to play really, really good football. Back to the player that we know of him. And Arne Slot, he's been able to take advantage of the quality of Luis Diaz. And he's made Luis Diaz a better player, I do have to say. And honestly, Arne Slot has picked up exactly where Jurgen Klopp has left off. Because they did have that bad loss to Nottingham Forest where they lacked that little bit of cutting edge and they need to be better. But, you analyze so far what this Liverpool team has done to this point. I do have to say, I think they've been better, up to this point than the Liverpool team we saw of last season. Because that Liverpool team that we saw of last season, yes, they were in the title race for a decent stretch. But they always seemed like they were, they were hanging on by a thread, and eventually it just collapsed within a run of games. But it seemed like they were always hanging on. This Liverpool team, feels like they can be there right up to the end. They can be there with the City. They can be there with the Arsenal. They have that pedigree to them, and it's absolutely electric what they're doing, this Liverpool team. And speaking of electric, Luis Diaz, he was absolutely electric in this game, especially in the first half. And Liverpool, they did show some defensive weaknesses in the first half. They gave up some opportunities. As I said, Keller had to make a save. But the attacking from Liverpool, we saw some brilliant attack and good play in transition as well. And honestly, Liverpool, they did need VAR to chalked off Bournemouth. They were able to get a goal from Semenyo, but it was slightly offsides, and VAR helped out there. It was overturned, and then we saw the magic from Luis Diaz. He actually had an opportunity early on. Arrizabalaga had to make a really good save in the 8th minute, and then he threatened a few opportunities, a few more times, but then he finally was able to get past Kepa in the 26th minute, and then 3 minutes later, he got his second on the break, using his pace and his left foot to make it 2-0. Then we saw a brilliant goal to make it 3-0, and it came from Darwin Núñez, who was making his first Premier League start of his first start under Arne Slot so far this season. This is a Darwin Núñez that's gone through a lot up so far in this Liverpool tenure, and him just not being able to be enough clinical. We see a lot of moments of quality from him. We know the ability with him, but we don't see it on a consistent basis, and we see him miss a lot of sitters, and he's just not consistent enough in front of goal. But that goal we saw in the 37th minute, to score from that angle on his left foot, just to nestle it into the back of the net, kissing the post. It was a sensational finish and a great goal, a great moment. You saw the relief of him as well when he scored the goal. You see his face, the celebration, the pressure being relieved from his shoulder. And, we hope this is sort of the catalyst that can release the pressure off his shoulders, and he can just go back to playing the great football that we saw him play at Benfica, because he did get 30 plus goals at Benfica, and there was a reason why he earned that big money move to Liverpool, because he was great, because he had huge quality. But we need to see it on a consistent basis from Darwin Núñez. And Arne Slot, he does need to give him a little bit more opportunities as well, not playing as much as I expected him to play on the start of the season up to this point. Even Cody Gakpo, he's had his moments here and there to impress Arne Slot, and I believe that's someone that also needs to get a little bit more game time, because Cody Gakpo's quality, we saw that at this summer's European Championship. And Darwin Núñez, he is quality, but it's the consistency, and it's whether or not, he has the right finishing boots on the day, if he can be clinical. But again, a lot of that as well is mental. And if you can allow him to play a little bit more, where he can continue to gain confidence, I think, he is he could be a really good player for Liverpool, and he can be, he can turn, in my opinion, out of the players that Liverpool have, not excluding Salah because of his age, and we know what he is, but out of the Jotas, the Luis Diaz, the Núñez, the Gakpos, I think Núñez is the one that has the highest ceiling, because that combination of height and pace and ability, and that sort of wild card factor in terms of the goals that he can score, like that we showed him against Bournemouth, just the whole overall package, the highs he could reach is he can be a world class, one of the best strikers in the world. He could be the best striker in the world. He has that sort of ability, and we see it in glimpses as well. We saw it in the Copa America early on for Uruguay. Later on he went on to disappear, and that's the problem with him, is the inconsistency. If he can develop that consistency, his ceiling is over the roof. But if there's no consistency with him and he can't develop it, he'll turn into one of those players that what could have been. And it's early enough for Darwin Núñez to for that not to be his story. It's early enough in his career. It's early enough in his time at Liverpool, but we need to see more consistency for him, and we hope that Arne Slot is the one that can turn around for him. Now Liverpool, they did still, there's still some things that Arne Slot need to fix. They had some vulnerabilities last year that we talked about. This time it's a little bit less. We're nitpicking when we're discussing their vulnerabilities, but there are some vulnerabilities. We talked about how Keller had to claw away a ball after it hit the bar. He had to make a few saves here and there as well. We talk about Semenyo and the goal that he scored, and how it was slightly offsides, and it was a let off for Liverpool. There's little things that Liverpool can fix, that Arne Slot can fix with this Liverpool team, to be able to take them to that next level, to where they can find themselves near the end of the season competing. So there's room for improvement as well for this Liverpool team, but so far, really good start to the season. And again, the response to losing to Nottingham Forest, you know, and then going on to win away in European football against a very good team in AC Milan, who went on to win their derby. I don't say it right. The Milan derby. Let me not try to say something I don't even know how to say properly. The Milan derby. They went on to win the Milan derby, and then as well with and then they had the results today. Good response for Liverpool after that Nottingham Forest. Good response for Liverpool, and they move on. They actually, technically today, it's really tomorrow. We're past midnight, really tomorrow. They play West Ham in the AFL Cup before they get an opportunity to take on Wolves this Saturday, or this upcoming Saturday. They'll be taking on the Wolves at the Molineux, and then they find themselves taking another trip back to no, this game will be at home. They will take on Bologna, the surprise Serie A team that finished top 4 last season. They'll take on Liverpool at Anfield that following midweek after that Wolves game, so next week. So yeah, we look forward to that. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we will discuss Tottenham's win over Brentford.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we reacted to Liverpool's victory over Bournemouth. We move on to react to Tottenham. They got a win over Brentford. And it was a good win for Tottenham as well, getting it over because it was an important win. This is a team so far coming off a disappointing start to their Premier League campaign. Entering the game, they had 4 points through their first 4 games. What did they have entering this game? Yeah, they had 4 points through their first 4 games, and they had some bad results, losing in the North London derby to Arsenal in a game, especially in the first half. They were on the front foot. Same story in that Newcastle game. Both goals that they conceded coming extremely against the run of play. Having a lot of, and then with Leicester they dropped points there 1-1, and same story there. Having a lot of possession, being able to create a lot of, not clear-cut opportunities, but a lot of decent opportunities. Just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. And it's been very, very frustrating because it's been the same story for Tottenham. And these are the sort of things, when you lack that cutting edge in the attack, and, you're able to do all the, general things well, where you get the pattern of play correct, you're moving the ball really well, you're finding the ball in dangerous areas in the pitch that that any team is aspired to find themselves in, but you're just lacking that cutting edge to get that ball into the back of them. Something that's very annoying, and that can be a very difficult thing to fix, especially as a manager. I don't really know how, because you're doing all the things that you need to manage. You're doing it really, really well. They're getting in the dangerous areas. They're finding the balls in areas that they can be very, very dangerous. They're able to control tempo and control possession and dictate the tempo of the game being played and get numbers forward and find themselves in a position that they can be threatening. They're doing all the general play really, really well, but they're not getting the ball in the back of the net. They're lacking that cut on the edge. They're lacking that final ball in behind. They're lacking that final finish. And you do that, and then on top of that, you go down 1-0 early to Brentford. The pressure mounts even more, and then you go on to score 3 goals, and it really could have been 5 or 6. Tottenham were much better than Brentford. You look at the statistics; they don't even tell the story enough. 23 shots to 6, and the remarkable thing, all 6 shots for Brentford were on target. Tottenham had 10 shots on target. Possession 48-52, really tight in terms of possession. Tottenham, they're a very, very aggressive team. They press really, really high. They have a very, very high line. And when they're on the front foot, they could suffocate you. And they did that and many times this season, but they're not able to get the ball in the back of the net. And it leaves them susceptible. You're playing this sort of way. You're suffocating teams. You're getting the ball in dangerous areas, but you're not getting the final goal. And then 1-2, it takes 1-2 passes, and suddenly the team is in behind you, and they're getting that goal against the run of play. And we thought that could have been the same situation in this game against Brentford, when you go down 1-0 early, and you're like, how are we going to get back into this game? We're going to be able to control everything. We're going to play some good football, but we're just not going to be able to get the goals. How are we going to get the goal? How are we going to take advantage? But they were able to find their goals. Now, Brian Mboyes, he had a very he had a very, very good volley that sort of took the crowd, that made the silence the crowd at the opening moments on a stunning volley to make it 1-0. But finally. Not finally, it hasn't been a huge start and a long start to the season, but it's been a little bit. 5 games in, we finally get a sighting from Dominic Solanke. He's able to take advantage. He was able to tap in a rebound in the 8th minute. And, sometimes it does take those sort of moments to get your confidence going, to get the team's confidence going. Sometimes it does take a deflection, or take advantage of a rebound or a set piece that can get it going for a team, and sometimes in these moments, especially when Tottenham, sometimes you're just not taking enough risk. You're not playing enough of those, cute and clever balls in behind those risky balls, or you're not taking a strike on in an area that maybe it's not the best place to take a strike. But sometimes you need to take a chance. They took a chance. They hit a shot. He was able to tap in a rebound in the 8th minute, and and then you saw a little bit of different level of confidence that was playing from Tottenham. 28th minute. Oh no, it was in the it was in the 28th minute. Brennan Johnson was able to find a second goal in the 28th minute as well. Just give me one. Give me 1 second. But Brennan Johnson, he was able to get that second goal. It was a very, very good counter-attack in the 28th minute. He showed his ability there, and he suffered a little bit of some abuse so far. So him being able to get on the score sheet, really, really good opportunity for him, or great moment for him. And then, 2-1 is never safe, and, Tottenham found themselves in a dangerous area, especially, they don't change the way that they play just because they're up 2-1. They're still going to be very attack-minded. They're going to still play that really, really high line. So they will be vulnerable to that ball in behind. So, it wasn't exactly a smooth ending for them, but eventually the third goal came from James Maddison. He was able to get in behind Brentford's defense, and he had a lovely chip and over Mark Flecken to score his first goal of the season and secure all the 3 points. And when you score the 3 goals and you've had the start that they've had, the issues that Tottenham has, this is a huge relief also in the manager, in which the pressure was a little bit mounting, because the manager found himself in a frustrating position. It's the same issues over and over again with Tottenham, and honestly, when you're lacking that cutting edge, I think Ange Postecoglou, his team is playing the way he wants them to play. They're finding their spots in dangerous areas. He's doing his job as a manager. It's the attackers, they're just not clinical enough. They just don't, not that they're not clinical enough, but they're just lacking that cutting edge, and they're lacking that little bit of confidence to get the ball in the back of the net. And that's something I don't know what Postecoglou can do, because you can't really question his decision making in terms of the attackers he's playing. He's playing Son Heung-min, one of the best players in the world over the past few years. We know the quality that we know the signing that Solanke is. We know the quality Kulusevski provides. Brennan Johnson, with his pace, he can be, he can be a factor. We don't know. There's nothing that he can really do. And instead of instructing them, take a little bit more shots, play that ball in tight spaces, play this ball in between the pockets. To get someone potentially in behind, take a little bit of those risks, go a little bit more forward, move the ball quicker. He can say those, general things, but at the end of the day, they're doing all the things that a manager wants them to do. They're just not getting the ball in the back of the net. They're playing good football. They just have not had enough cutting edge, and in this game, they were able to get 3 goals past. It's a huge relief for them, and it's something that could be a catalyst for them going forward. Because sometimes it does take that one game to get your identity back, to get that confidence back as a unit going forward in these sort of competitions. And now and they did it as well against a difficult team in Brentford. Now they have this battle, midweek battle against Karabakh in the Europa League. I believe this game will be played on Thursday. Then they have a really big game, in my opinion, this Sunday, taking on the likes of Manchester United, with 2 teams sort of in similar positions. Not the best start to the season up to this point, but they're slowly starting to get confidence. And I do think Tottenham is the better team compared to United. I think they play the better football. I think even playing this game at Old Trafford, they will be the ones more progressive, more going after it. But again, can Tottenham take advantage and get the goal? Because if they don't, I think United does have the pace with Rashford, with Garnacho, with the ability of Bruno Fernandes to play that ball in behind. They have the pace and the quality to take advantage of that high line of Tottenham. So Tottenham do need to be clinical. They need to take advantage when the opportunities come, and they need that cutting edge. That's the biggest thing. They need more cutting edge with this Tottenham team. They need to be able to draw out defenders out of their position so they can take advantage of those spaces. Because in terms of general play, there's not many teams in the Premier League that play better general football than Tottenham. That find themselves in good attacking positions more than Tottenham. The problem is when Tottenham find themselves in those attacking positions, are they able to play the ball to score the goal, or are they able to take the strike on themselves? So far up to this season, it hasn't been great, but good results this past weekend against Brentford. And I continue to look forward to watch Tottenham so far this season. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to some of the top headlines going on in the soccer world. before the break, we discussed Tottenham's win over Brentford. We move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines up to this point in the soccer world, and we have to start off. With the news. With Rodri. Now, it hasn't been confirmed that Rodri has a torn ACL. We hear the reports, but Pep Guardiola did say that Rodri will be out for a long time because of the knee injury he suffered against Arsenal, and he is still retaining hope that it's less than expected. We know Rodri has traveled to Barcelona for tests after he was forced off in that first half in that 2-2 draw at the Etihad Stadium. He is gonna undergo surgery, but Guardiola says a decision has not been made on what kind of operation is necessary for him. And depending on the decision that the medical staff decides, Rodri, he could be out anywhere between 5 and 8 months. Guardiola said, still, we don't have the definitive answer. He'll be out for a long time, but there are some opinions that it will be less than we expect. Right now, I cannot tell you. We are waiting for the last phone calls and the type of surgery he needs. Tonight or tomorrow, we know. So we'll see. Guardiola continued. We will have a good later on in this in the statement. We will have a good season. I trust a lot in my players. I have a duty to find a solution. He is irreplaceable when you don't play with the best player in the world. My duty is to find the solution, be competitive like many years, and continue to be there. I do think it's a bad loss, and I still think they are the favorites to win the Premier League. To answer one of the questions in the chat box, who's winning the league, I still think City will win it, because I think, yes, you talk about the record, but I do think Gundogan and Kovacic playing together, they can fill the role of Rodri in a combination that I do think when you're forced to find answers to being able to play without Rodri, I think Guardiola will find those answers. I think City will be forced to find those answers, and they'll figure it out. They'll figure out how to play without Rodri. This is a team that hasn't let injuries of De Bruyne, Foden, Haaland, important players affect them in the past. I think they will be able to play without Rodri. I think they will figure it out. Patrick Vieira, we saw him on NBC on Chicago Fan Fest on NBC, and it's reported that he is a finalist. The former NYCFC coach is a finalist for the Atlanta United job, who's still searching for his next head coach, and it could be coming closed in the near future. It was reported that Patrick Vieira is one of the finalists for that head coaching vacancy. Atlanta, they have not had a head coach since June, when Gonzalo Pineda was fired. They had a poor start to the season, and now Rob Valentino, he is the interim manager currently for Atlanta. Obviously, I said Vieira, he's coached in MLS. He knows what it's like coaching here. He was the coach for NYCFC, and he's also has had experience coaching in top flight leagues, coaching Crystal Palace in the Premier League. He coached Nice in Ligue 1, and then he was the manager of Strasbourg before he mutually parted ways before the conclusion of this past season. So yeah, we'll see if that goes through, and if Atlanta United do decide to make Patrick Vieira their next manager. Obviously, in Nkunku, he was able to get a hat-trick. We discussed a little bit that in Chelsea's Carabao Cup route. There was an interesting report coming out, about Arsenal and their dark arts. Some Premier League teams, complaining about some of Arsenal's dark arts. And Arteta, he hit back at some of the claims that a lot of Manchester City players made about these dark arts that we saw in the 2-2 draw at the Etihad Stadium. John Stones, Akanji, and Bernardo Silva, they were all critical of Arsenal's approach to the match last weekend as they were trying to defend the 2-1 lead, being down to 10 men. After the game, John Stones said, "Arsenal have done dark arts for a few years. You can call it clever or dirty." And then, Akanji and Silva accused them of, time wasting. Martinelli, Julian Timber, and Calafiori, they were all substituted in the second half. While David Raya left the game with his right knee bandaged from that game. We know the physicality that occurred within that game. And yeah, Arteta, he was annoyed at the comments. Speaking ahead of their game, their Carabao Cup third round game against Bolton Wanderers, Mikel Arteta said, "I always prefer the facts to words or supposing things. Let's see who is available tomorrow, and then we can talk about dark arts or these things, or if it's a reality." Unfortunately, yes, there will be a few players not available. And when he was asked whether the dark art label was fair, Mikel Arteta said, "I don't know. It's opinions, and that's it. But as I mentioned before, I think other things will be a factor, and that's it. We will use the facts." When he was discussed what are the other factors, he said, "Well, if a player is faking something, that means he will carry on and be involved in the squad and play." Arteta also pointed to some time wasting that City when Arteta also pointed to a spell of time wasting from City when they were down to 10 men, and claimed that after Trossard's red card, Arsenal learned from the last time that they played City with with 10 men, what happened when they lost that horrible game 5-0 in August that year. Arteta said we had to play the game that we had to play. The first 10-15 minutes we couldn't do with 11 versus 11. Then we got much better. Then we were thrown in a very different context and did what every team does. They played 30 seconds with 10 men. Look what they did for 30 seconds. It's normal what they did. We had to do it in a different way. We learned from the past. Unfortunately, we have been in the same situation for a few times. We lost in the same situation with Granite after 38th minute, and we lost 5-0. We'd better learn. If not, I would be thick, very thick. And then he also discussed about Erling Haaland, who was caught on camera at full time telling Arteta to stay humble. And Arteta said, "It's part of football, part of sports. After the game, all that goes away and we move on. That's it." Very interesting there going on. I don't know exactly what they mean with the dark art thing. A lot of people, have dark arts tendencies. Just go, watch any game, international football game played in CONCACAF or CONUMBO. It's all dark arts. Dark arts is part of the game. And if you don't want it part of the game, then, the referee should punish it to an extreme manner in which it's not possible to commit these sort of things. If you have that sort of, breathing room, if you have that gray area, then teams will take advantage of that gray area, and rightfully so. That's football, that's sports, that's competition in general. Teams will try to get advantages in any way that they can, as long as it's not cheating, in which these dark arts is not cheating. You can argue it's a gray area, or you can say it's against the spirit of the game and all that, but it's not cheating, because if it was cheating, then it's up for the responsibility of the referees and the higher ups within the Premier League and all that to fix this issue. That's really what it comes down to as well. San Siro, they've actually been stripped of hosting the 2027 Champions League final. UEFA has reopened the bidding process to host the 2027 Champions League final. We know that there's been some reports coming out what's going to happen with the San Siro, which is the current home ground of AC Milan and Inter Milan. There's been rumors that there might be a new stadium, that there may be a refurbishment. They haven't really been able to finalize their plans. And in UEFA, they since the Italian Football Federation didn't submit information for the plans for the multi-million-dollar pound refurbishment, UEFA has decided to strip the hosting rights from the San Siro and reopen that process. So obviously this next Champions League final will be held in Allianz. So it's not really huge news what's going on in 2027. But yeah. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show, leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit and the coffee